Interphase Video presents the 2017 Meet the Candidates, the Lancaster Race for Mayor. Brought to you in part by Fairfield National Bank, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, and Cryle Communications.
Good evening and welcome to Meet the Candidates Forum presented by Interphase Video Productions. I'm Josh Messerly, the moderator tonight, and over the course of this time we will learn more about the three men running for mayor of Lancaster. We want to thank those of you tuning in on LSN as well as those watching on Facebook on the Interphase Video Productions Facebook page. Well, without too much further ado, let's meet the candidates tonight. First, we will start with Greg Russell, who is the Democratic candidate, David Scheffler, the Republican candidate, and Clayton Lunsford, an independent candidate. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get to the questions tonight. We should mention that earlier we drew numbers, drew straws, something like that. Either way, we have an order tonight, so it will be David Scheffler starting first, followed by Greg Russell and Clayton Lunsford. Each candidate will have about a minute or so to answer questions, and then we will go from there and alternate who goes first. First, let's start with David Scheffler and question number one. The first and most important questions on voters' minds: why do you want to be mayor of Lancaster?
Well, good evening, and I'd like to thank Interphase Video for producing this tonight, and the information for the public will be great. So why do I want to be mayor? First of all, I have a passion for Lancaster. It's been my home for 47 years. I run a business here, and I've been employed here. But most of all, I've always believed that I had the ability and the responsibility to make a difference. During my adult life, I have invested a lot of time and effort in organizations and causes that had a positive impact on the community. Even after I retired in 2009, I was involved in such things as Village Mountain Mission, for which I made 3 trips to the Dominican Republic to build houses. I taught school in Kosovo. I was on the board of directors of Destination Downtown Lancaster and an active member of Rotary. In 2014, the Destination Downtown Lancaster and Special Improvement District boards approached me to take on the leadership role for revitalizing downtown as executive director of those 2 organizations. I hope everyone believes that I've had a positive impact and made a difference in downtown. Ever since I took that role at Destination Downtown Lancaster, I've been approached by many citizens on the street, friends, acquaintances, DDL board members, and downtown businesses to consider running for mayor. So after a lot of thought and consideration, I've decided to take on that challenge and pursue my passion for Lancaster.
All right, thank you, David. And now we will go to Greg Russell. The same question, the first and most important question on voters' minds: why do you want to be mayor of Lancaster?
Thanks, Josh, and again, thank you, Interphase Video, for producing this tonight. It's great that you guys step up to the plate and do this for the citizens of Lancaster. I do feel I have the leadership. I've been the managing partner at Tiki Bowling Lanes, which is the last 27 years, which has been a very successful business. And I do have compassion just for the city, just like Mr. Scheffler does. I'm not running for myself. I'm running for the citizens of Lancaster. I want to give them back the integrity that the citizens of Lancaster deserve. I work with both sides of the aisle. When I served on city council back in 2008 and 2009, one of the things that the first thing we talked about was there's no more R's and no more D's, and we worked very well together on both sides of the aisle, and I know I can continue to do that. I want to move Lancaster forward. We had too many negative things that happened in the past, and it's just time to move Lancaster forward. One of the things that I want to stress is that I want to bring back accountability, credibility, principles, transparency, and a vision. So I want everybody to know to visit Russell4mayor.com, and my vision and how I want to accomplish all that is on my website as well. Thank you, Josh.
Okay, thank you, Greg, for that answer. Now to Clayton Lunsford, same question to you. The first and most important question on voters' minds: why do you want to become mayor of Lancaster?
Hi, thank you for the question, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to the voters of Lancaster, because being an independent, I don't have the money to go out there and to go do mailers every single weekend. I don't have the money to do thousands upon thousands of signs, so this is definitely something that will help me get my message out, and I thank you for that opportunity. I want to be mayor of Lancaster because I believe that it is time for a change. We've seen it with the Brian Kuhn incident, that the old ruling class of Lancaster has kind of gone by the wayside, and I think they're a little out of touch with what the citizens want. I went out door to door getting signatures for my petition to run for mayor, and a lot of people had some major concerns that they didn't know and didn't think that the current administration was addressing. And so I'm running for the people because I'm not beholden to anyone, and I can help the people make Lancaster what it really can be, because Lancaster has a lot of potential, and we just need to really find a way to tap that potential. And I think some youthful enthusiasm from the younger generations and myself will really help to bring Lancaster to what it can be, a great city upon the hill.
All right, thank you, Clayton, for that answer, and thank all three of you gentlemen for answering that first question. Why do you want to be the mayor of Lancaster? Next question. What do you believe is the most critical issue facing our community right now, and what do you propose to do to address that issue in your first year in office? We will start this question with Greg Russell.
Thanks, Josh. Economic development is probably one of the most key things that I would look into. I was able to ride along a few times with Mr. Pettit, and he's got a great vision for Lancaster and where the growth is going to be. And I would love to see him stay aboard. I know we talked about at the last election, talking about a full-time economic development director. I just don't think the city of Lancaster can afford that at this time. So if Mr. Pettit's willing to stay aboard, we would love to work with him on a one-on-one basis and with city council and keep the administration proactive in this. Mike and I talked about working with Jobs Ohio, Columbus 2020, and Smart Cities. Every time he goes up there to try to bring a business down to Lancaster, one of the stumbling blocks is maybe not enough tools in the toolbox, or they just kind of bypass Lancaster. So if we're involved with Smart Cities, and the mayor needs to be very proactive in going to the State House and doing that. I do want to highlight a few things. I want to partner and market the spec building with Mr. Pettit. Network all the city departments and get the Rubel site up and ready for development. Improve our website and so we can be to do business with companies around the world. Create an ad hoc committee of business owners and corporate executives and educators and residents around town, kind of like we did the street levy program. Review city codes and work on those. Help grow and own with grant incentives. So and then public safety would probably be my next one. We got a slight uptick on the problem with the opiate problems and drugs. So we want to work with both chiefs to possibly create a few more positions and attack that.
Okay, thank you, Greg. And now for the second question, we go to Clayton Lunsford. And what do you believe is the most critical issue facing our community right now, and what do you propose to do to address that issue in your first year in office?
Yes, that's a great question, and I would have to agree that it is economic development that is perhaps the most pressing issue that Lancaster faces. He talked about company outreach. And I think that really starts with the economic development director. And Mr. Russell believes that we do not need a full-time economic development director. He said that it won't be worth its money, apparently. I do believe it will be, because in the last debate, Mr. Russell said that it would cost $300,000 to have a full-time economic development director. I personally disagree, because we don't have to pay an economic development director the big bucks. They don't have to make $150,000 a year. You start them at $60,000 a year, and you tier them on how many jobs they bring into Lancaster. And so it could be that they make up to $200,000, but that would be bringing in a tremendous amount of jobs to Lancaster, and at that point, it's worth every penny. We also need to make Lancaster more accessible to incoming businesses and existing businesses that wish to expand. We can do this through expansion of tax abatements. Right now, they are limited to certain zones in the city. It is of my opinion that we can expand those zones to the entire city so that we are able to, not limit business to just one specific area, but to all areas of the city so that they can build to their specifications where they want, and it'll make Lancaster a lot more accessible. Mr. Russell talked about Columbus 2020, and we do need more outreach that way. Right now, Lancaster is good at filling out forms and turning them into the state. We need an economic development director that goes out to these companies that can talk to the companies already here and say, okay, who are your suppliers? Who made your paper towels? Who made this? Who made that? And then go talk to those people and say, why can't we have a regional office here? Why can't you put a small plant here to make that product? If we do that, we'll be able to bring jobs into Lancaster, and from those jobs, we can help better Lancaster in many other areas.
Okay, thank you, Clayton, for that answer. And now to David Scheffler, same question. What do you believe is the most critical issue facing our community right now, and what do you propose to do to address that issue in your first year in office?
The most critical issue facing Lancaster today is a number of unfilled jobs that exist in Lancaster. There are help wanted signs all over the city. On Ohio Means Jobs website today, which not everybody posts their openings to that site, there are 706 job openings available. 248 of those pay less than $30,000, but 458 pay over $30,000. In fact, 202 pay over $50,000. So why is this an issue for the community? First of all, companies can't grow, customers can't be served, and the local economy is stifled by the number of unfilled jobs. So what does that mean? If we only filled half of those jobs, 350 averaging $20 an hour, that's $14 million a year in payroll. That would generate $245,000 of city income tax, which would go a long way toward solving some of our fiscal issues. But the effect of that, people earning money in Lancaster, is multiplied. And if the economic multiplier was only 3, that would be a $40 million impact to the city of Lancaster. So I have already begun discussions with Mike Pettit, the city economic development director, Rick Zrabeck, the county economic development director, and Corey Clark, who is the Jobs and Family Services workforce development director, about how we can approach training, recruiting to fill some of those jobs in Lancaster. In the long term, we need to talk to educators, parents, and students about changing the paradigm of needing a college education to earn a good living. There are lots of very good jobs around that you don't need an education for.
Okay, thank you for that answer, David Scheffler. And now we are going to move to our third question. We'll start with Mr. Lunsford on this one. It is, there is no doubt a political divide in our community, as evidenced by lawsuits and controversies. How do you think you can reach across the divide and bring public trust and our community back together again?
That's a great question, and I think my my candidacy as an independent immediately does that. We no longer have to be partisan, Republican or Democrat. Mr. Russell said there are no more Republicans and Democrats, just people. Well, you're right. You are just people who have been in the ruling class for too long. You've become out of touch with the people of Lancaster, and I believe that a lot of people are fed up with the way that the city's ran. We see it on city council floor where there might be no more Republicans and Democrats, but there are still arguments over ideology. Might it be not liberal and conservative? With the Lunsford administration, you would not see such aggressive comments. You would not see such aggressive political plays, for we only have the people's best interest in mind. you would see a lot of compromise. You would see a lot of betterment in the name of the people, not in the name of someone's own political agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lunsford, for that answer. We'll now move over to Mr. Scheffler for number 3. It is there is no doubt a political divide in our community, as evidenced by lawsuits and controversies. How do you think you can reach across the divide and bring public trust and our community back together again?
Well, there's no question that the top priority of the new mayor will be to get elected public officials off the front page of the newspaper and get Lancaster victories on the front page. During my business career here, and especially during my tenure at Destination Downtown Lancaster, I have gotten to know all the city administration, the department heads, the city council members, and I know most of the non-incumbent candidates for city council. We will have at least 3 new members of city council this year, including John Bouse, who was recently appointed to fill a vacant seat. So no doubt there's going to be a lot of change in the council this year. But the key is to increase communication. At Destination Downtown Lancaster, we have used social media very effectively to get the word out to the public about what's going on and about what we're expecting in the future. And still on social media, I'm reading today something about the town clock, and I thought that issue was settled a long time ago, but it still seems to be a question. But we need to use social media to get the word out to the public, and I intend to figure out a way to do that in the city, even if it's a mayor's Facebook page, to publicize victories in the cities and what's going on. That can go a long way toward any turmoil that we've experienced. And I believe council people and the city administration have seen so much ill will and turmoil in the last couple of last 6 or 8 months or year that they'll go overboard to make sure that doesn't happen again.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scheffler, for that answer. Mr. Russell, we will turn to you now. There is no doubt a political divide in our community, as evidenced by lawsuits and controversies. How do you think you can reach across the divide and bring public trust, and how do you and our community back together again?
Well, the Brian Kuhn case and the lawsuit is in the history books, so let's move forward for what's betterment for the Lancaster citizens. The lack of transparency has been going on way too long, and it needs some serious work. I will ask the citizens to be patient. Like I said the last time in 2015, when I was running for mayor, I wanted to have on the city's website, I'd like to have a mayor's page. I remember David Smith used to have a section in the Eagle Gazette where he would do things of what was going on in the city of Lancaster, which was fantastic. And that's what I want to do. I want to have that mayor's page to where the citizens can communicate one-on-one with me, and I will be able to respond to them or find them the answer that they need to have. So Dave covered a lot of things, with reaching out to the city council people. There is going to be a lot of new ones on there. I know most all of them, some of them, the new ones that are running, and I know that I can also be very proactive working with each one of them as well. And I also too have went around with all the different superintendents and got to understand a little bit more about the departments and how they operate. So I'm very excited about having the opportunity, if elected mayor, to work with all the department heads as well.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Russell, for that answer. Now on to our 4th question. We'll start with David Scheffler on this one. It is, if you are elected, what will you do to engage the public in city issues and affairs?
Well, first of all, I'm not a stay in the office and sit behind a desk guy. I believe in getting out among the constituents, to the neighborhoods, to groups, to organizations, to find out what's going on in the city, to find out what the needs are, and then initiate some action, recruiting, whatever it takes, new programs, and sometimes just a lot of attention to a particular problem. Again, we need to get word out to the public about what's going on in a city. We cannot rely on the print media to do that. Sometimes whether a story makes the newspaper or not is just dependent upon if there's a reporter available to cover it. If not, nobody knows about it. So get out, challenge the status quo, which is my motto, has been my motto for many years. You may see my license plate on my car for 25 years has been CTSQ. And That's what I do best. That's what I've done downtown to bring revitalization to downtown, and I'll do that for the city.
Thank you, David Scheffler, for that answer. Now we move on to Clayton Lunsford. Same question. If you are elected, what will you do to engage the public in city issues and affairs?
You know, I think Mr. Scheffler is right when he talks about the use of social media. It's definitely necessary in a growing age of technology with our citizens. Mr. Scheffler talked about a Facebook page, and that would be good, but I believe that a Twitter would be necessary as well, because with an increase of Twitter users and the young people using Twitter, we're definitely going to need to be able to reach those citizens. And Twitter is also an effective way of communicating. For in 140 characters or so, you can say exactly what's going on in the city, and you can always break it up into 1 or 2 texts or tweets if you need it to be. Mr. Scheffler talked about getting out and about. As a young person, I have an incredible amount of energy. I run cross country, so my endurance, I believe, is what will make me a fantastic mayor, for I will be relentless in the pursuit of good business deals for the city, for the best programs that the city can run. I will be involved in just about every city program I can be, because our city's a fantastic place, and it deserves a mayor who's out and about doing the activities that the city puts on for its citizens, to show that the government really does support what it's doing with its various activities that it puts on. So I believe that because of my youth, I will be able to get out there and go talk to more people than anyone could.
All right, thank you, Clayton Lunsford, for that answer. Greg, I apologize. I skipped the order there, got it out of whack, so I apologize about that. Greg Russell, if you would answer this question. If you are elected, what will you do to engage the public in city issues and affairs?
Thanks, Josh. Everybody knows that how involved I am in the community, whether it's with Fairfield County Charity Newsies or Big Brothers and Big Sisters or breast cancer events. I do a lot in the community. For the last 27 years, been at Tiki Bowling Lanes and opening up our facility to raise funds for different events here in Lancaster. So I am a people person. I love being out into the community. Like Mr. Scheffler said, I don't like just sitting behind the desk. I like interacting with the community, and I certainly will do that as mayor. One of the things that I really want to get out and really work with is whether it's the hospital or drug enforcement officers or the Landlords Association or just any of the organizations to try to help fight our serious drug problem that we have in Lancaster. So I've continued to go to some of the different meetings that they have here in Lancaster for drug the people that's has addiction. So I think I'm very, very active in my community, and I will continue to do that as the mayor of Lancaster.
All right, thank you, Greg Russell, for the answer to that question. We're going to take a time out here. You are watching Meet the Candidates on LSN and the Interphase Video Productions Facebook page.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you grab the attention of your customers? Separate yourself from the competition. Explain how your products and services can make a difference with Interphase Video. Interphase Video is a full-service, award-winning video production company with the experience, knowledge, and technology to deliver your message on time and within your budget. We realize the importance of identifying your target audience, understanding their needs, and delivering as promised. From sales and marketing to broadcast commercials, from corporate training to live staging and events, from television programs to mobile sports productions, even media transfers, duplication, and packaging. The team at Interface Video will take your project from concept to completion.
Welcome back to the Meet the Candidates Forum here on LSN and the Interface Video Production Facebook page. I'm Josh Messerly, the moderator, and we've been talking with the three candidates running for mayor of Lancaster. We'll get back to them in a moment. We want to thank a couple of sponsors helping to bring this forum tonight. The Frankie Smith Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1889. Their website at funeralhome.com will guide you through the choice of dignified funeral services and monuments with personalized options. Respect for tradition, regard for change. And by Fairfield National Bank, there's no one like you. Your hopes, dreams, talents, and experiences, even what you value in a bank, are unique to you. That's why instead of telling you what we can do, we'd rather listen to what you need. Because at Fairfield National Bank, your story is the one that matters. There's no one like you, and there's no bank like us. Fairfield National Bank is a division of the Park National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Contact information at fairfieldnationalbank.com. We'd also like to thank Angela Cryle and Cryle Communications for making this evening possible. We'll get back into the questions now, and we are on question number 5, and we will start this time with Greg Russell. I got it right this time. If a large company were to consider Lancaster for a manufacturing facility or a headquarters, what would you say to them to sell them on the city of Lancaster?
Well, Lancaster's faced some tough competition in business investment. You know, I want to do everything I can to possibly grow the Lancaster tax base. And I wanted to point out a couple bullet points. I would offer any grants that might be possible via CDBG or the state of Ohio. I would show them our parks, our schools, our downtown. I would include all city department heads in the meetings to explain Lancaster's infrastructure. Showcasing Lancaster has its own municipal gas company, that when comparing costs with other distributions of gas across the Ohio, they're relatively low. I would clarify that the Lancaster has 2 excellent well fields with water lines looping around the city of Lancaster. I would show them how our rail service could be available and demonstrate just how Lancaster is to how close it is to major highways and to Rickenbacker. So again, working with Mike Pettit in City Council, I feel that having a good relationship with them, that they're going to be right there by my side if I'm the mayor of Lancaster.
All right, thank you, Mr. Russell, for the answer to that question. Now we move on to Clayton Lunsford. If a large company were to consider Lancaster for a manufacturing facility or a headquarters, what would you say to them to sell them on the city of Lancaster?
I would say to them that under a Lunsford administration, you would see an incredible amount of willingness from the city to work with them in what they need. I spoke earlier about the use of tax abatements throughout the city so that they can pick their location of where they wish to be and not have to be beholden to a few areas from which they can get those abatements. I, too, would give out any community development block grants that can be given to them. I would show a willingness to reduce the tap fees that incoming businesses have here in Lancaster. I know there's been a lot of talk about the tap fees, various other construction fees that the city has, and that a lot of builders of businesses don't exactly like. If we want to have business here in Lancaster, we have to be willing to give these investors in our community the tools they need to be successful, and I believe that can happen through a reduction of fees such as tap fees. I, too, would look at our parks. Our parks are a fantastic part of Lancaster. They get $0 from the general fund, and yet they still continue to provide an excellent service to our city. It's incredible what they can do. I mean, look at the bike path. I know I use it just about every weekday when I go on my runs with cross country. It's amazing what the parks can do. I would look at a Lunsford administration's willingness to create better roads through supporting an extension of the levee that is used to further our road development And I would say that a lot of those road developments are used on the main thoroughfares right now, which could be excellent for incoming businesses. That's what I would tell them.
Thank you, Mr. Lunsford, for the answer to that question. Now, David Scheffler, your turn. If a large company were to consider Lancaster for a manufacturing facility or a headquarters, what would you say to them to sell them on the city of Lancaster?
Well, first of all, Lancaster is located in the second fastest growing county and the fastest growing region in the Midwest. We are steeped in tradition but ready for the future. We have affordable, shovel-ready certified sites. We have an abundance of gas, water, and electric capacity. We have roads that connect to the interstate system. We have wonderful rail service. We have quick access to 2 international airports right up the road in Columbus. We have highly rated public school system and 2 private school systems. We have a wonderful park system. We have a comprehensive medical center. We have wonderful parks and other recreational amenities. We have a lot of culture with the museums and art that we have in town. So I would recommend that they talk to some of our recent acquisitions in the industrial park: Phoenix Electrotech, BSS Waste, SRI, Martin Partitions, and talk to the local managers and CEOs there to get some perspective of how they were welcomed and the help they got in Lancaster. We're already doing it for the companies that are here, and we'll continue to do it for companies that are coming.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scheffler, for that answer. Moving on to our 6th question. We'll start with Clayton Lunsford on this one. What would you like the city of Lancaster to look like 10 years down the road?
I would like the city of Lancaster to look like a place where you can go get a college education and raise your kids here. I know a lot of people my age leave Lancaster and they never return, and that's a very sad thing because Lancaster has many, many, many opportunities to be a fantastic place to raise your kids. And that's one of the things that I think we should focus on is how do we attract people here? How do we attract the younger generations here? We can do that through various downtown activities that we can put through. I'd like to see it as a place of the new age industry, such as tech sector jobs. We could help do this by partnering with Spectrum and attempting to bring better fiber optics into Lancaster and getting that ultra high-speed internet that I know Columbus has. And I know a lot of people here in Lancaster complain about how slow their internet is. And I would work fiercely with that company to try to bring that to Lancaster because I think we need to move into the future. We don't need, these big plants, making products. We should make more technology. We could have many businesses here if we had better internet. And I think if we do that, we'll be able to bring families here. We'll be able to bring jobs here that the families want to have. And I want Lancaster to be a place where you're proud to raise your kids here.
All right, thank you, Clayton Lunsford, for that answer. We now move to David Scheffler. Same question. What would you like to see the city of Lancaster look like 10 years down the road?
Well, I would like to see Lancaster listed as one of Money Magazine's best places in America to live. I believe we already have a lot of attributes that qualify us for that recognition. Some of the criteria that they use in determining that honor is the economy, unemployment, job creation, housing, is it affordable yet appreciating, education, what's our school ratings and education rate, culture, do we have art, entertainment, recreational opportunities, crime, what's our crime rate. And we already have somewhat of a finger in the pot in such awards. In December 2016, Expedia Viewfinder blog awarded Lancaster the recognition of one of the 17 small cities for the perfect weekend getaway. And this wasn't the result of some application or lobbying that anyone in Lancaster did. It was the result of Expedia looking at all the ratings that Lancaster got on the social media sites, and so we got quite a lot of publicity and recognition for that. Everybody wants to be part of the next big thing, and I believe Lancaster is the next big thing.
Okay. Thank you, David, for that answer. Moving on to Greg now, same question. What would you like the city of Lancaster to look like 10 years down the road?
Well, one of the things I would like to see is the 10-year street levy end on a great note. I think they've done a good job with what the resources they have to work with, and I think the departments have done a great job to strive to make that happen. I'm proud to say that 13 miles of paving has been done, 11 miles of microservicing, and 20-plus miles of alley work has been done. So I applaud those departments for doing what they've done. Lancaster will have separated sewer and sanitation infrastructure through the city utilizing federal grant monies. And I have 9 things that I want to make sure that everybody in the listening audience hears me say. Lancaster will have a state-of-the-art fire station out in the River Valley Highlands area, and that'll cut down the travel time from the squad from Engine House number 2. I see Edie Park as between Edie Road and Collins as ball diamonds, soccer fields, rugby, and hopefully someday a splash park. Additional bike parking and attaching to the bike path from Edie Road to Collins Road. I see the city has built and strengthened its existing small business and supported entrepreneurs. Lancaster having multiple industries and data centers, like Mr. Lumford said, in the Mill Park area, which is very important would be very important for Lancaster. Give them good wages that they can live on. Additional bike parking, and then again, new schools. We're very proud of the new schools that we have here in town, and the new schools producing achievers. And the last one is crime rate and drug abuse eradicated. So thank you for that last question, Josh.
All right, Greg, thank you for your answer to that question. Well, we have come to the end of our debate with one final question. This is going to be your stump speech, your elevator speech, whatever you want to call it, probably the most important question that you will answer tonight, and that is, why should citizens of Lancaster vote for you? So we will start with David Scheffler. Why should the citizens of Lancaster vote for David Scheffler?
Well, first of all, because of my background. I have a degree in accounting and a minor in economics from Ohio University. I spent 40 years working in the accounting profession, 32 of that as a partner in a CPA firm. During my career, my clients included large hospital systems with hundreds of millions in revenue, hundreds of employees in multiple locations. So I get the numbers, I get the large-scale operation. Secondly, my experience at Destination Downtown Lancaster. I believe I demonstrated the ability to make a difference in the revitalization of downtown, the storefronts filling up, the downtown is vibrant, growing, active, and I believe I have the ability to bring that result to the city of Lancaster as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Scheffler, for that answer. Turn now to Greg Russell. Why should the citizens of Lancaster vote for Greg Russell?
Again, my 27 years experience out of Tiki Bowling Lanes in management. We've run a very successful business. I've been part of that. And being on city council in 2008 and 2009, I was served on the finance committee, so I got to learn very, very closely with Mr. Stoughton, the finance chairman, how the city government worked. And again, being part of the community for everything that I'm involved with the different organizations. I've outreached to many groups and many citizens and helped many citizens in Lancaster. Again, my business background is relevant. I do think that I can step into that office. I have been very proactive from the time I got off of City Council in 2009. I've continued to stay active. I continue to go to council meetings. I've continued to go to committee meetings and stay very, very active in my community. I'm proud of this city. It's my hometown. And if mayor, I will continue to work hard for you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Russell, for that answer. And finally, why should the citizens of Lancaster vote for Clayton Lunsford?
they should vote for me because, like them, Lancaster is my home. I grew up here. It's where I've been educated. It's where I've made all my friends, laughed, cried, bled, sweat. Lancaster is who I am, and I believe Lancaster deserves the best mayor it can have. I believe that is me. We have two fine gentlemen here who could be your next mayor, but I do not believe they can do the same great job that I can do. They unfortunately have chosen partisan support, and so therefore they will be beholden to their executive committees, to their special interests that they've built up over the years. I am young. I am not a part of a party. I cannot be controlled by the people that they can unfortunately be controlled by. I have no one to answer to, and so therefore I can do only what is best for the people of Lancaster. I have a youthful enthusiasm for this city. Like I said, I grew up here. It's where I live, it's where I eat, it's where I breathe, and I just want what's best for Lancaster. And I believe that as a young person, I have the vision to make Lancaster the greatest it can be for the longest it can be.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lunsford, for that answer. Gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity tonight to let the voters know a little bit about your positions and what you would like to see if you are elected mayor of the city of Lancaster. They have done your part, and now it's time for you to do your part, and that is go out and vote. If you're not registered, you can do so through October 10th. You can go to myohiovote.com. That's the Secretary of State's website. You can learn more about how to register to vote. Early voting in Ohio begins on October 11th, and then, of course, Election Day is on November 7th. So whatever you do, make sure you get out and vote. Make your voice be heard. We also want to thank our sponsors for sponsoring tonight's forum. That is Cryo Communications, Frankie Smith Funeral Home, as well as Fairfield National Bank. That'll wrap things up for our Meet the Candidates forum. I'm Josh Messerly. Thanks for watching. Good night, everyone.
You've been watching the 2017 Meet the Candidates, the Lancaster Race for Mayor. Brought to you in part by Fairfield National Bank, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, and Cryo Communications.